One.
What's going on, Oasis?
Happy Monday to you.
Monday.
I think we're in the thick of winter and it's like 50, 60, 50, 40, 30.
Yeah. I was thinking about walking over to this building that we have the, what is our normal weather report. It is really nice outside, widely scattered light with impending weather doom. That's what it is. I think it's supposed to drop out yet again.
A little bit and then come back up.
Yeah, and then come back up.
By Friday. So at least it'll be weekendish.
Yeah. You know, and one of the things that I am certainly not going to get into this little rant too awful far, but before COVID was a thing and it was running, there was just allergies, cold and flu season, and everything like that. And this is the weather that destroys people. You know, like I feel fine, but I know that from here up is going to be congested.
Yep.
You know why? Because yesterday it was 50 and today it's 2.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yep.
So anyway, I digress. So good to see everybody here, and it was good to be in church yesterday. And,
Yeah.
And,
Man, 20 years with Chuck.
yeah, 20 years with Chuck. I don't know who deserves the combat table. I don't know. Chuck, that guy's a trip. But you know what? He did really well yesterday, and him and Brad up there on the stage, and really enjoyed seeing that and hearing. And of course, I'm a little bit biased here, but I got to be involved with baptism, so that was
Yeah, I mean,
super excited and grateful and everything like that. So that girl, Carson, got a chance to baptize. She is just one of those. When she came forward, I really didn't express this well enough. When she came to me after the message, seriously, she was, I want that. I want that Jesus in my life. And you know, I would go through and a little bit of trying to talk her out of it, and man, she wouldn't have it. I want Jesus. Girl, I bet Jesus is in your life. Man.
Yeah.
I can see it in your eyes that you want that. So it was pretty awesome to just be a part of that story.
That is the most interesting thing about my job. I think I've said this before. That is what I know. I've told our college students, like, and you are the guys that hold me solid.
Oh, yeah. Man.
You know, dealing with people is dealing with people, and dealing with people at church is no different than dealing with people.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
Man, and being out in student ministry, when you know, I tell adults when explaining to them about the student ministry and how crazy they are, and it's true, they are crazy. But when you see a teenager get it,
Yeah.
like, oh, you're hooked to that. All of a sudden, it's you see him start running on all the cylinders, and you just sit back in the corner with your slight grin of, go, God, go.
Yeah.
He's going to run it. So,
Yep.
kind of in that vein, actually, that may be the best segue into this. As I was thinking about this morning, and I'm probably going to be a little bit short this morning, this afternoon for this. I've just been thinking more and more about what is the goodness of God and what is the glory of God, and compare those two. What does that look like in our own lives? And it comes out of this passage that I have today. Is out of Exodus. Sorry, I guess we're having audio. Our phones are blowing up. So we're trying to fix it.
That's yours too. Let's try that.
Let's just try that. We may have to punt today. But so out of Exodus chapter 33 and starting in verse 17, it says, "And the Lord said to Moses, this very thing that you have spoken I will do, for you have found favor in my sight, and I know you by name." That's incredible in the first place.
Yeah.
Right? The creator of everything refers to Moses in Exodus 33:17, and he says, "And I know you by name." When we take a step back and we think about our name being written in the Lamb's Book of Life, and we take a step back and think about the magnitude of our salvation, what had to happen in order for us to know God, and that God knows us by name, right? Of course, he's speaking to Moses in a different capacity here, but it's incredible that he does, that he knows us. In verse 18, Moses says something. He says, "Please show me your glory," referring to God. And he said in verse 19, and he said, "I will make my goodness pass before you and will proclaim my name, the Lord, and I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious and will show mercy on whom I will show mercy." And so in this passage, Moses asks, "Will you show your glory?" And so kind of breaking down that word of show me your glory. And I think that word glory is, will you show me the weight and your worth, God? And the reality is it actually goes down in that passage where it was, you can't handle my weight and my worth. In fact, you can't even look on my presence, right?
Yeah.
So what does God respond with? I will show you my goodness, though. And in this passage in verse 19, and I will make my goodness pass before you and will proclaim before you my name, the Lord, Yahweh, right? And that goodness is the blessing and the bounty of God, I think. And just kind of doing a little bit of research in there is what I will do is I will show you how big and the scope of my grace. I will show you how amazing all of this is. And you want to see how big I am? I'm going to blow your mind with just me walking by you. And the more I've thought about this is truly I'm identical to Moses, I think, in my walk, is I want you, God, show me your glory. And he's like, no, you can't handle all of me. You can't handle what you're asking, but I will give you my goodness. I will show you some of this bounty and how you play a role in this, right? And your usefulness to me. And I will show you the scope of my ministry here. And I will let you in on some pretty amazing stuff. But you won't understand my weight and my true value until I call you home. Until you stand before me in heaven, that's the only time you're going to recognize and be able to handle just who God is.
Yeah.
And so if that's the case, how amazing is it that we get a chance to be here and understand that the goodness of God is just that. It is God. It is God's. And God existed before us. We weren't created to just enjoy all of that. We were created to be the goodness of God to other people, to demonstrate those things. The bounty of God, how good he is to us, is intended to be demonstrated to other people. And that all of that is God's idea. That is a part of his glory. That is a part of his weight and his worth is that we don't fully understand this, but we get the goodness out of it. It's incredible to even think about this. And I know even now I'm sitting here thinking, I'm so twisted on this. I don't even know how to explain you. I don't even know how to explain God to somebody truly. Like, what is the goodness of God? What is the glory of God? I don't know. I don't fully understand.
Yeah.
He's so big. He's so amazing. His scope is so huge. I can tell you how he has been good to me, though. I can show you how he has been good to my family. I can tell you these things where he has been faithful and he has been there with me even when I didn't really agree with the answer. But he was there, and his bounty is good, and it is good for me. So I don't know. I don't know how to segue into what you have. I'm
No,
kind
man.
of like all of a sudden I shouldn't even feel like be talking about this. So,
And that's so much of how they responded back in that time of even in that culture. You said talking about it, like the Jews in the Old Testament, they created names because they didn't want to say his name.
Right.
You know, and we don't get that.
You can't even say my name.
Exactly. And that weight and that magnitude and that worth, man, it's amazing that he allows us to crack open the scriptures and hear of what happened, hear how it happened, and hear how he can move through us and wants to move through us. And that's really kind of where I want to go to as we're coming into this build up into Sunday night of asking for a friend, all the thoughts, all the emotional things and the mental struggles that we all have. And we're jotting them down. And there's one passage that really encourages us and really kind of commands us what Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians. While he himself is in the middle of a really almost a struggle of crisis between his leadership that started the church in Corinth and those who were trying to seep in and really kind of take over. And it came down to this reality of the foundation of how we stay connected and really kind of leveled off with the reality of where we are in life, but also what we are capable of and what we are not capable of.
Sure.
One thing might blow your mind for a second. There are a lot of decisions that we make in a day.
Sure.
So, like, how many decisions do you think we make in a day, an average person?
I don't know, hundreds, thousands maybe. I don't know. I just made a decision on how I wanted to answer that
Exactly.
question.
And so psychologists, and this is kind of a guesstimate, but I feel like it's really kind of true. They say the average individual makes 6,000 decisions a day.
Oh, I bet.
I mean, like, everything from which pair of socks are you going to grab out of the drawer? I mean, like, that's a decision. Like, it's a small one, but let's be honest. Your brain did some work.
Yeah.
And you didn't even know it. You know, and that's where we need to sit with God. God did some work, and we didn't even know it.
Yeah.
You know, like that's really how it kind of comes with us. But when we truly understand God's position and His word that He calls to us, we see the work right in front of us when we're truly willing to follow God and to follow Christ and the words that He has given to us through Paul. I want to start in chapter 10, verse 3, and just the magnitude of this. It says, "For though we walk in the flesh, we are not waging war against the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but they have divine power to destroy strongholds. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God and take every thought captive to obey Christ." That there's two things in there that are really huge, and really your position should be, how in the world do I do that? And that's the problem. We go with the response of how in the world do we do this? And so how physically do we do this? And the reality is it's not physically. It's been said that knowledge is power. The reality is everything that you've made a decision on came from some knowledge that you know, that you obtained. And you're relying on that knowledge. Now, the deeper fact is that knowledge going to benefit and from God? It's going to benefit God, and is it from Him, or is it something that is from God and just benefits you? You know, and that's the teeter-totter that believers struggle with all day long, of this reality of God, what are you calling me to use? What are you calling me to give? What are you calling me to work towards that truly builds up your church and edifies your people? But this is how we do it, as we take captive every thought for the obedience of Christ. And we see this so much throughout the Scripture of how that knowledge that is power. It is power. Let's go back to Adam and Eve of Satan telling the truth, but twisting it, of him saying that you will be like God, for you will know the difference between good and evil. And that is so true. They will know the difference between good and evil. And the reality was, like, they knew good, they just didn't know what evil was.
Yeah.
Like, and for some reason we're like, yeah, I want to know that. I want to know that level. I want to know that standard. And that's where we just put ourselves in that utter doom of wanting to know the full capacity both ways.
Yeah.
And the reality is, like, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
And God says, not only can you not have it both ways, you're not going to have it both ways.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where I see the full weight of His glory and Him passing by Moses and covering him with His hand of saying, you can only see my back.
Yeah.
You know, and us realizing that those thoughts that we have each and every day, man, they come from somewhere. They truly do. Psalms 19:14 says this. It says, "Let the words of my mouth and my meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer." And so, man, if you're going to attempt to do anything in proclaiming the glory of God, let's make sure that, man, your thoughts, like, you're taking your thoughts captive to the glory of Christ, not to the point of just expressing Christ being a part of your life, but truly your life, it just settles in on the foundation of Christ. And so that's my challenge as we go into this week of whatever questions you may have coming into being able to ask to this panel, which is going to be able to, you're going to be able to submit your questions starting Wednesday. That will be pushed out, and that page will be up on the website. You can submit those questions. We'll receive them and get them in order and connected together, so we can truly dig down into the depths of really how our brain is wired. Man, our brain we were formed in a certain way, and the reality is there comes a point where we all have the same function.
Yeah. I think this, in asking for a friend this weekend, I do want to encourage everyone to invite, first of all, answer these questions. Go and ask the questions that you would like answered. Go ahead and start sending those in Wednesday. But I think it's just going to be one of those moments where it's necessary. This weekend, it's just necessary for our own headspace. And if nothing else, I want to encourage everyone to just come and listen. Whether or not you're fighting with some of these things, I guarantee you know somebody who is. And so maybe it's not a matter of coming to get ammunition. It's a matter of coming to get education so that you can learn to listen and identify maybe some struggles that people are going through. Maybe there are times that we just sometimes need people to ask questions that we didn't know that we had. And maybe start to deal with a few things, frustrations that we have, questions that we have for the Lord, and all of those. And it doesn't kill us to be smarter. It really doesn't. No. I do want to encourage everyone to come up here Sunday night, 6:00. Send in your questions if you have them. Tell your friends. Ask questions for your friends. That's the name. Certainly glad to be here today, and one thing that I'll let us go with from my side of it, and it is out of Psalm 23 verse 6, and says, "Surely the goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever." So as we kind of go through this week, is just taking a moment to just be patient and understanding we dwell in the house of the Lord, and that it's by His design. So let us find peace in that. So love you guys. We'll catch you later.